I need an intro for the Shrugged strength test episode. Kurt, what you got?
Delivering.
Mike, what you got?
Welcome to the Shrugged Strength Test episode. Sign up for the Shrugged Strength Test and we'll send you really cool shit so you can learn how to be strong, how to teach other people to get strong, and something else.
Alex, what do you got?
This week on Barbell Shrugged, we talk about the Shrugged Strength Test and why you should do it and what it's all about. So go watch it and then go sign up for the test.
I want to redo mine.
Go ahead.
Never mind. Mine's good.
Kurt, would you like to redo yours?
Yeah.
Hey, I see you sitting there, lonely by your keyboard. If you want to, just whip your fingers out, put them on your keys. Type in http://www.barbellshrug.com. While you're there, swing on over, sign up for the newsletter. We'll send you some cool free stuff, and make sure to check out Overtime. It's a sweet place with a bunch of sweet stuff. And last but not least, I know you're trying to find a bitchin' t-shirt to get your mom for her birthday. Head on over to merch.barbellshrug.com.
Come on.
Come on.
What are we saying at the top? What are we saying? Shrug strength score! Test! Shrug strength test!
That could have been way better. All right, what's up, guys? I'm Mike McGoldrick here with the Barbell. Oh, shit. Go ahead. I said it's we know it's a Barbell Shrug podcast. You're listening to the podcast. Here with Mike McElroy.
What's happening?
Alex Macklin.
What up?
And Kurt Mulligan.
Hey.
We got something special for you guys today. Something new we just came up with. It's called the Shrugged Strength Test. All right, so we took a bunch of movements that we felt was really important to help analyze strength, imbalance, structural balance, and let you know exactly like what standards we think are very important to show that you're actually balanced and a well-rounded athlete. Now, specifically in strength. So with that said, if you want to try this test, head over to barbellshrug.com and you can sign up. We'll send you it's a 3-day test. We'll send you all the workouts, movement demos, and then some tips on how to get started. So with that said, we're going to talk to you today, movement by movement, about why we chose each one, and then we're going to go a little bit into discussion about each one, like what the results should be, what standards we're looking for, and we're going to tell you
how to improve them.
Yeah, basically how to improve them, so how to get better at it if you're lacking or inadequate.
If you're
You're so inadequate.
If you're inadequate. It sounds so mean.
It does.
If you have a weakness. All right, so cool. With that said, day one, number one. Actually, let me back up for a second.
Yeah, well, explain the whole test as a whole. Yeah.
All right, so it's 3 days long, right? Day one is mostly lower body. It's a lot of squatting tests. We've got a couple of upper body things in there, but we wanted to balance it out over 3 days so you don't like wear yourself out. We're not testing the same things back to back to back. Day two is a little bit more of an upper body, like pressing and pulling testing day. And then day three is a little bit more of like postural endurance, carries, pulls, things like that.
Yep. Speaking of that, when you do the test, don't do a whole lot before or after the test.
Yeah,
we try to isolate a little.
We want
bit.
You fresh because you want these results fresh.
And do you do this like 3 consecutive days, or you do like in between? Like,
yep.
Okay,
three
so
days
consecutive days. So this could be your
could be your
training
for
the
Monday,
next
Tuesday,
3.
Wednesday.
Okay, for
Yep.
the next 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need a number 2
You need
pencil.
a Scantron.
Can I get a pencil?
There's a digital Scantron at the end. And then also,
I hate the ACT.
it's about 5 to 6 exercises each day, so it could take you roughly an hour. Each one of them leads into one another, so you get a good warm up in. You don't have to like go set something else up that doesn't really like correlate to the one before that. And then also, if you want to do other stuff that day, we just recommend like maybe some like easy aerobic work, some breathing, rowing, etc.
Aerobics.
Nothing, yeah, no more strength work because we want these results to be like, you want them to be like a true test and very fresh. So,
So where do I start?
I just told you.
No, like, what's the first movement?
Oh, the first exercise. Yeah. So day one, the first thing you're going to do is what's called a beginner shrimp squat. It's basically like a single leg lunge. All right. Can you do one right now, McElroy? Yeah. If you're just listening to this and you
back knee touches the ground.
He did it. Yeah. So with this, we just want to see that you can do one controlled attempt or one repetition per side. And with that, we're looking for a strength imbalance from left to right side, as well as some hip and ankle mobility. What else do we look for with that?
Yeah, typically, like you said, this one's a little bit less of a strength test. It's more of a mobility and movement test. So, like you said, ankle mobility be an issue. Yep. Hip mobility can be an issue. Also, balance. Just all of a sudden, maybe you have some back issues or you have some knee issues, but you're always doing double leg squatting, and maybe you get all of a sudden on one leg and all of a sudden you're super unstable. So just looking for balance and stability in the ankle and hip and knee.
Right. So if that was the issue, let's say that strength was the issue. Like one side you could go down or strength and coordination. You go down and one side's fine, the other side's not. Like what exercises would you do to get better at that?
Yeah, if mobility is a non-issue and stability and strength is more of an issue, I would do things that require balance and coordination. So things like a single leg pal-off press where you're having to balance on that one leg.
Oh, I love those.
You're pressing a band away from you. Kind of hard to explain on audio, so go find those. But
I like rear foot elevated split squats or what they call Bulgarian split squats. Even if you can do it with dumbbells or kettlebells, or if you want to make it even harder with a barbell or a safety bar. But I find that you have to be very balanced and very strong to be able to do those reps, and those are great, man.
Yeah. even doing counterbalanced weighted shrimp squats. So very similar to what we just showed you. Again, if you can't see this, you need to go to a video and check it out. But you can hold a plate out in front of you. It's going to help you stay upright and feel more upright and balanced.
Yeah, so a lot of times a non-weighted shrimp squat is harder than like a 10-pound weighted shrimp squat if you're holding the weight out in front, just because of the balance and the center of gravity and everything like that.
And for mobility, obviously, I mean, you would want to work on hip and ankle mobility. I like voodoo flossing. Yep. And I also just like sitting in the bottom of the squat, with the barbell on my quads, that kind of lean into the ankle to kind of push it forward, get some flexion in the ankle.
Yep. Figuring out exactly where that mobility issue is.
Right.
Obviously would be top priority.
Yeah.
Cool. Number 2, overhead squat. You find a 1 rep max. And now this is a controlled repetition. So what we look for is obviously starting overhead, and you go all the way below parallel, pause for 1 second, and we'll explain why in a second, and then come back up and finish the rep. So the pause in the bottom is mainly to show control and that you didn't just kind of bounce out. And the funny thing about having that controlled second in the bottom is that most people actually do more weight that way.
A lot of times people PR when we have a tempo or we have a pause, just because balance is such a big issue in the overhead squat. When they try to rush it and get out because it's heavy, they dump it forward or lose it behind them. As opposed to controlling it, they stay in that stable position, focus on pushing through the shoulders. This is like I said, this is one of my favorite tests to do on everybody, just to get overall, like you said, shoulder mobility, thoracic mobility, hip mobility, core stability. I mean, it includes everything.
You can learn so much about someone's movement quality by watching them overhead squat.
Yeah, you just watch mine.
It doesn't tell you absolutely everything, but I can't think of many other movements that are used that much in training that tell you that much.
I mean, like you said, everything is required. You have to have almost excellent mobility to get into a good overhead squat position. And you have to have balance and stability to maintain that bar overhead. So if you don't have those three things, then overhead squat is going to be hard for you. I think, and also, I mean, just the carryover to Olympic weightlifting. Like if you can't overhead squat what you can snatch, then that's an issue. Like that. I mean, speaking of personal experience, like that has been, I have had that struggle with, being able to snatch more than I can overhead squat. Because when I catch a snatch,
it's crazy.
I walk out. The thing about it, when I catch a snatch, I stand up very quickly, which is not ideal because a lot of times that bar goes forward instead of being able to receive the bar in the bottom, stabilize it, and then stand up with control. So working on your overhead squat, especially pausing, will definitely help you with being more comfortable in receiving heavy weights when you actually go to snatch or clean or snatch.
Yeah, I mean, ideally we should be able to receive a snatch, and if we're just a little bit out of balance, instead of trying to stand up and lose it, we stabilize.
We should be able to stabilize. Exactly.
So there's a lot of standards for the overhead squat. You've got the old CrossFit gold standard of 15 at body weight, and then you've got the Olympic lifting center, which I think is like 130-ish% of your snatch is what you're looking for. So what is the standard, I guess, that we're
looking for is you want, when we test the front squat next, that's number 3 on day 1. We want 85% of your front squat
minimum.
Yeah, at a minimum. So obviously, if that's more, that's going to be a lot better. But that's a good starting point to aim for. So with that said, yeah. Where are you at?
Let's see. My best front squat's 180 kilos. Yeah, nowhere near that. I would have to overhead squat like 153.
So with that said, like that doesn't tell you, like the number itself doesn't tell you where the limitation is, so you need to spend some time figuring it out.
Just tells you that you're inadequate.
Very rarely is it just pure leg strength. Like very rarely is it that. Most of the time it's movement quality and mobility.
It's movement quality.
Right. So what are some things we can do to get better at that? Obviously, better, more mobility in the hips and the ankles and the upper back. And then if balancing the weight or stabilizing is your issue, doing things like snatch grip, push presses, presses, snatch grip carries, things like that.
Yeah, actually, snatch grip
carries with kettlebells hanging from bands if stability is a major issue.
That's a good one.
You're having to stabilize and walk with it.
We were talking about yoke. Yeah, we were talking about yokes the other day. Doing an overhead yoke carry will definitely help with stability overhead, or any kind of overhead carry in a wider grip. Yeah.
I think some of the people in our flight program are probably like, looks familiar.
That's cool.
One other thing too is, the obvious thing is just practicing doing overhead squats. Like you may just suck at overhead squats. Increasing the pause can also help with that bottom position, and it helps work a little bit mobility as well.
Yeah, we're going to get into more specific mobilities with the different tests throughout the next 3 days. So I think it's important to point out here that
the show's not 3 days. We're talking about 3 days of testing.
The show could be 3 days.
Overthink mobility a little bit, and like you said, a great way to get better at the overhead squat and mobility is just sitting in that bottom position.
Keep it simple. All right, so number 3 on day 1, the front squat. You're going to find a 1 rep max. Now, the only real standard on this, well, other than going below parallel, is you have to keep your hands in the front rack position. You don't have to full hand grip it, but we do that to help really illustrate any mobility limitations you have with that. Mainly because if we're doing this test, we're assuming that you want this front squat to translate to many other lifts that you're doing.
So no cross grip.
No crossover.
Right, no cross grip. Can you use, what if you're injured, can you use straps and get
If you're injured, I would say that, but I would almost it's treat it like a screen where it's almost at 0. Like that needs to be fixed,
Right.
So that would be
we want it to
fail.
be translated to everything. So if we're doing thrusters or if we're doing cleans, we don't want this number to say you do this and you compare it to your clean, and if your front squat is 200% of your clean, there's a bunch of reasons that could be, but if you can't even get into the front squat, then that may be the reason. Rack. So it skews the test. So we want it to be directly related to everything else we're doing.
And this is also this is our bilateral pure leg strength test. Now it's not the highest absolute strength test for your legs, but we want to keep it a little functional in nature. So doing things like obviously it's still going to test some core stability. Your upper back mobility is going to be a limitation.
Hip, ankle.
It's going to bring out a lot of things. So that's mainly why we chose it instead of just a regular back squat.
Should you do this? So when you do these tests, should they do these tests with full gear on, weightlifting belt, weightlifting shoes, if that helps them?
I think if you're going to do that and you retest this, make sure it's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I wouldn't one time do it in flats without any gear and a belt, and then the next time put on the shoes and everything. You're like, I went up 40 pounds.
Right.
I mean, it's great.
Or you could go down.
Exactly.
So
just keep the testing standard the same.
Yeah, I think it a little bit depends on what your sport is. I mean, if you're a weightlifter, use it. If you're a CrossFitter, maybe not, because again, it may skew the test a little bit. If you don't ever wear them for thrusters, or if you don't ever wear them for heavy cleans in a Metcon, then it's going to skew your test a little bit. So wear the same stuff you're going to use normally. So if you normally wear the weightlifter shoes, then normally wear them.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say there's 3 things we're generally going to see with this. There's probably more, but we'll just pick 3. Leg strength. Right.
Yep.
How do we get better at that? I don't know. Drink more milk and squat more. Number 2, core stability. So if you're someone who does it and melts like a candle on the way up, right?
Question mark.
We could do lots of heavy carries, more yoke walks. There's a ton of different things you can do, but
10-second pauses in the bottom front squats.
Yeah, the point is to recognize that core stability is the issue.
Yeah, what you said right there. If core stability is an issue, I love doing long pauses. So
You
Travis.
actually love doing those?
I love them. I absolutely love them because they help my front squat. They work really well. Like Travis Mash, he had me squatting 7-second pauses in the bottom and then 15 seconds pausing in the front rack at the top.
That's
doesn't
brutal.
look that bad
for a
on
1 rep
paper.
max.
Because you're
so
like,
brutal.
once I get past 7 seconds, it won't be that bad. And you stand up and you're like,
No.
How would you write that as a tempo? It'd be like, what, 7?
You just have to write it all out.
7,
Yeah, you just write it all
1,
out.
15.
Yeah.
People are like, what is this? Is
What
it
does
zip code?
30x1 mean?
It's my zip code, or is that my tempo today?
But specific things I think that have helped me pull my front squat up. I started off of maybe like a 140 front squat, and then over a year I got up to like a 180 kilo front squat, doing a lot of pausing. So a lot of pause reps, like shorter reps or shorter pauses.
Yeah.
And then working up to 3-rep max, something like that, and then also a lot of chain work. So front squats with chains, and that help because a lot of times you get stuck sometimes in that in that middle, especially for me. So working those chains, it helps that accommodating resistance, that varying resistance, and you push through that sticking point.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of core work in that too. When you're coming up and you feel those chains, if kind of
Love
caving
chains,
forward
man.
is one of those issues, that's where when you're driving up, you feel like your guts are going to come out or something.
Oh yeah.
Stay stabilized.
Love chains, man.
Yeah.
Chains are the
and
shit.
the sound of them makes you gain 20 pounds of strength just alone.
Yeah.
So with the core stability issue and the leg strength, like one of the biggest things that would actually make those worse could be mobility. So again, we could talk all day about different mobility exercises to do, but make sure that the hips and the ankles and the upper back actually can extend and stay straight, and then it might allow you to actually get stronger without actually getting any stronger.
One more thing about that too, the upper back, another great exercise. Sorry, it's another I do a lot of these accessory work, but waiter squats, like with a dumbbell.
Oh yeah.
So one arm waiter squats, you can do it with a dumbbell or you can do it with a farmer handle. Yeah, exactly. That will really test your ability to keep your torso upright and keep your chest up. So doing those will really help your front rack position.
Are you working on squatting right now?
Number 4. All right, moving on. Number 4. What about left to right imbalance with the squat? So this fourth one on day 1, we do front rack, rear foot elevated split squat. All right, and the point of this one is it does test a little bit of leg strength, but for the most part,
max.
Yeah, we do. Oh yeah, sorry, we do a 5-rep max at a strict tempo of a 3-0-1-0. So when you hear 3-0-1-0, that means 3 seconds down, a controlled eccentric, no pause, 1 second up, no pause. So you do 5 reps at a nonstop pace, right? Each side. Now the point of that is to really show how much stronger your left might be from your right, or if there's any imbalance. Again, it's not going to be like crazy heavy, right? Because we're just on one leg. But again, the point is just to really show like, A is my right side equal to my left side. And if not, then you need to get a little bit stronger.
Yeah, as opposed to the strength squat, there's a little bit less of a mobility factor here. So it's more of an absolute strength factor, but individual legs. There is a little bit of a mobility factor, though, with that back leg being elevated. That hip flexor on that back leg can sometimes be a limiter. And again, the exercise itself is a great exercise for this because you're working that mobility through the full range of motion while you're strengthening it. So yeah, that was good.
Coach Mike, I have a question. What if my right side is a lot weaker than my left? What are some exercises I can do to improve that?
Yeah, so basically any single leg exercise.
Yeah.
So step ups, I like starting with step ups, walking lunges, front rack lunges, rear foot elevated split squats, more of those. Basically just any single leg exercise, even single leg glute bridges if specifically the glute is weak. So any single leg exercise.
Oh, CTP has one.
So many
Me first. You go ahead.
I was going to say,
Me first. You go ahead.
less strength, more attention.
I was about to ask that same question.
You should always start with the weak leg first and then do the same weight for the other leg. So don't do 20 pounds on this side and then 75 pounds on this side.
Right.
Do the weak leg first and then just do the same weight on the other side.
What if you don't want the other leg to get weaker?
It won't.
The point is to balance out.
Yeah.
It's not to like let them both continue to get
Right.
stronger.
Yeah.
So do the weaker side first, let it catch up with the other one, and then get them both stronger.
And you said this was at a tempo pace?
Yeah.
Or a tempo. What was the tempo again?
The tempo is 3-0-1-0. So
3-0.
3 seconds down, no pause, come up. So it's basically like 1, 2, 3, up.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. That's pretty good for like
Yeah.
Except
I wonder
you're
how
going
many
quarter
I
squat.
wonder how many questions we'll get about what
tempo?
is 3010
I'm
X.
supposed to do 30 times 10.
If you don't know what tempo is, go Google. Please,
We've
just
got
forever.
one.
Yeah, we have that.
video.
But just go Google what is tempo, and you will find out what it is. That's like the most common question we
tempo
ever
running.
get.
All right, so last exercise of the day, strict handstand push-ups. You're going to do one attempt of max unbroken reps. So kick up to the wall, start locked out. That's where the rep begins. Come down, touch your head, and then back up. These are completely strict, no kipping. And we're using the standard that the CrossFit Games Open uses, mainly because it's just one that we found that most people are familiar with.
Simple standard.
It's very simple. Takes a couple seconds to set up. You put your thumbs together, hands on the wall, body against the wall, feet against the wall, feet together, actually. And then you measure 3 inches below the crease of your wrist. And that's where your heels, that line that you would draw, the 3 inches below here, that's where the heels have to go above on each rep. This is just, this is just a simple test of inverted awareness and upper body absolute strength.
Coordination and strength, yeah. I like that standard, too, because it brings out, when they first came out with that standard a couple years ago, like a lot of people got mad about it because it was such a hard standard. But if you're in good positions, if you bring a gymnast in here, they're not going to have any problem with that standard because they stack really well. So their bones stack on top of each other really well. They keep their core tight so they're not all hyperextended.
Keep you closer to the
and
wall.
that's when it gets sketchy. So it requires that core stability and that coordination when you're inverted to be in those good positions.
Now, what if you cannot do a handstand push-up?
Yeah, so this is kind of a pass or fail type test. If you can't do one for testing
You're not
purpose, then
strong
your
enough.
score is a 0.
Right,
Yeah.
your score is a 0.
And we give you some insight into how we'll get better at that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. If you're someone who, we'll talk about if you're someone who can't do one or might be very close, you can do things like, wall-facing handstand holds or just like handstand holds locked out with your back against the wall, basically isometric holds. You can do slow eccentric lowering, right? What else?
So lower all the way to your head, fall down, kick back up,
Yeah.
lower all the way to your head.
Wall walks.
Wall walks are
Cast
good.
wall walks are good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
They suck, man.
So that's that focuses on
talked
the
about
concentric.
a couple episodes ago in the pull-up episode about weight being a factor, and this is another one of those. This body weight test, so weight could be a factor. Dumbbell pressing, where you have that stability, even strict barbell pressing, any kind of pressing overhead is going to assist with this.
One of the things you said earlier too was if you had a gymnast go over there, they stack on. What exactly do you mean by that? And then I was kind of saying that they keep a hollow body, so hollow body holds I think are a very good help if you have trouble getting into a good handstand position.
Yep. Yeah. So hollow body hold or basically a straight line from wrist all the way down to toe should be a perfectly straight line, and being stacked means your shoulder and your joints of your shoulder and your elbow and your wrist are all stacked right on top of each other, as opposed to looking like me right now where I'm not really stacked.
Where you're broken.
If you're this guy, which is a lot of us out there on the wall,
it makes it a lot harder, and that's why you see somebody who maybe is not as strong as you. Maybe you are doing presses and whatever, and they can do like half as much as you, but they can stand in a handstand hold all day long. Yeah. And I remember watching. We reference Froning a lot, but I remember watching Froning in the team competition a couple years ago. I don't know if it was last year or what, but they had handstand push-ups while the partner was holding the handstand, and so many people were coming down, were limiting their partner on the holds, not the actual pressing, because that hold was so hard because they were just couldn't hold that position because they weren't stacked good. And Froning was just like sitting there hanging out. He would even just stay there while the partner came down and rested, and that just shows a limiter as far as mobility and being able to stack on top of each other, and it should be basically a resting position.
Gotcha. Briefly, let's talk about if you are someone who can do them already, what are some ways you can get more reps at them? So if it's like an endurance issue.
Yeah.
It's still an absolute strength issue, but
right. Yeah, I really like density sets or EMOMs where you're doing maybe you can do 5 is the most you can do unbroken. Maybe we break that down and do 2 per minute, 4 or 5 minutes, which would give us 10 total reps in a controlled manner, and we build on that. Either decrease the time in between those sets or add 1 rep every other minute or something as we build on that.
Gotcha.
And these are strict, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Strict.
Hey, there's my mom. Hey, Mom. All right, so that concludes day 1, right? Go get some rest. Again, light training.
I feel like I should say, hey, Mom.
Yeah. Light training if you are continuing these, which hopefully you are, want to do all the tests. Don't do any more strength work afterwards. Some people are going to be wiped after this. Some people are going to be like, man, I could do more. just bear with us, stick with it. You've only got 2 more days.
Yeah,
after
make sure
this.
you eat some good food later on and get that window of gains, because
or tomorrow's day 2 is upper body testing day. So it's not all gymnastics. So eat big. But if you want to do better on the gymnastics,
Eat lean.
eat lean. Yeah, show up light. Okay, so day 2 starts with a standing barbell strict press, right? A 1 rep max. Point here is just a simple upper body absolute pressing strength test.
Yep.
What else? Simple upper
pressing.
body absolute vertical pressing strength test.
I mean, that's the king of figuring out if you're strong overhead or not. Is a strict press. I mean, that was back in the day. That was the test. That was the test.
Yeah,
the
the
clean and press. Clean and press. If you can fucking clean and press. Like, what was the record? Like 400 or something? I don't know.
They used to do like the hip drive where they go.
The Olympic press.
They kind of rock into the toes.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
I've heard it said before, and I believe this too. Like, if you have a guy who can bench press 400, he may or may not can strict press 300. But if you have a guy who can strict press 300, he can definitely bench press 400. There's a lot to be said for that. There's a carryover there that's way greater if you can do a strict press with a lot of weight than it is of a bench press.
If I can strict press 220, I did it last night.
Then you can bench press 330.
No, I can't. Nope.
What's your bench press?
Yep.
Thought
like
you said
300 pounds.
Well, it could be technique for that too.
But there's a lot of people that can bench press 300 that can't press 200.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. So with that said,
Like
what
myself.
number are we looking for here?
We want to at least be at body weight.
Okay. So for men,
Yeah.
men, you want to be at body weight. So
That's diesel, man.
Ooh, man, I'm stronger.
That's kind of the
I weigh
CrossFit
210.
standard,
I
yeah.
got
Yeah.
220.
That
So
is diesel.
where are you at?
I think my best was body weight. That's like my absolute best.
Okay.
And I thought I had a strong press, and so, man, that's tough. Body weight press is hard.
You know, McElroy pressed like 210.
Well,
like
McElroy-
170 pounds.
Kurt, what about
That
you? Where
was
are you
the
at?
end
What's your
of
body
the-
weight and what's your press?
Same body weight.
Perfect.
155. Yeah.
Cool. Very adequate. What's it for women?
Women, I think we said 0.75.
Okay.
75% of your body weight.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So one of the things that we're looking for here again is absolute strength, obviously, and then you can also see left to right imbalance on this. So with that said, like if you notice that you're going, you might have some issues there, and we'll talk a little bit about how to get better at that with coming up with the next test. So how do we get stronger in strict press?
Do more strict
Do
press.
it more. Yeah.
Drink more milk and more strict pressing.
Yeah, I mean, if mobility is not an issue, then it's basically just getting stronger. If mobility is an issue, which it commonly is for CrossFitters, not so much for weightlifters. Usually for weightlifters, it's more of a strength thing, just because they practice the mobility so much and don't do a lot of strict pressing. But for CrossFitters, a lot of times it's mobility, so working on that mobility. Behind the neck presses, wall slides, things like that.
Yeah, you're improving the position.
Yeah.
Yep, gives you more power.
Strict press is one of those exercises that's really hard to improve.
It does. It takes a lot of time.
A lot of people get frustrated because like, well, my strict press hasn't gone up, or it's only gone up like 5 pounds.
Yeah, that's a
That
lot.
is a lot for a strict press if you're talking about a maximum effort. I mean, basically, you're just going to have to do it more. You're going to have to get stronger. Same things apply. You can still do, accommodating resistance. You can set up some bands, single arm pressing, like taking a single arm dumbbell pressing. That can also help especially with the stability part, or the balance rather. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's hard to improve.
I think mentally, like, just look at it from a percentage standpoint. Like 5 pounds on 100-pound press, that's big.
Yeah.
Like, look at that compared to your squat. It's probably
It's just because it's probably one of your lower lifts. Yeah. So it's going to be harder to see.
If mobility
big numbers.
If mobility is not an issue, then bench pressing, doing things where you can overload that pressing. To
Incline
a heavier weight.
pressing.
Incline pressing.
Incline bench press.
That's a key point,
like that.
is that you can overload with the bench press. You can do a lot
it's
more
heavier
weight.
weight,
So, it's going to help you adapt a little better.
But if you're somebody with mobility issues, then that may not be the best idea. I know when my bench press has gone up, my press sometimes go down, or definitely my jerk goes down because that mobility gets more restricted as it already is. So,
all right, so
consider.
Exercise number 2 on day 2, weighted strict pull-up. You're going to find a 1 rep max with a pronated grip. Again, pronated grip meaning palms away from your face.
So overhand.
Yeah, overhand grip, not facing you.
Right.
What we're looking for here is very similar to the like I say supinated, like a bowl of soup.
No soup for you.
So no soup for you. We do this because it's another simple absolute strength upper body pulling test in a vertical plane. what we're looking for here is generally you want to do, if you're a guy, you want to do about 30% of your body weight.
Yep.
All right, so
females about 20%.
So what's 30% of 200? 60 pounds. Did I just do that?
Nice. You did.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you enter this number, you're going to do your body weight plus the external load that you did. So if I did a 60-pound weighted pull-up, I would enter in 260 pounds. So it's 30% for men and 20% for women. What else are we looking for with this?
Is that difficult for you?
60? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for CrossFitters, we would probably want to shoot a little higher than that.
Why is that?
Just because of the demand that we put on those when we're doing kipping muscle-ups and kipping pull-ups and so much torque on the shoulder anyway. So we want to have a little bit of reserve strength in there that it should be a little bit higher.
Yeah, this is just a general number. But, that's a really good point. There's so much more volume and demand in upper body gymnastics in the sport of CrossFit. So some ways we get stronger.
Yeah, so if you don't have a pull-up at all, then, I mean, just like our program in the overtime with the getting your first strict pull-up, we start with static holds, whether it's chin above the bar hold, even hanging from the bar, static holds, and then we go into eccentrics where we're just doing the negative portion, just lowering down, eventually getting to where we're lowering down added weight, and even weighted pulls like Pinlay rows or single arm dumbbell
horizontal
rows or
pulling.
horizontal pulling.
Right.
Yeah.
So inverted
Things
rows
like that.
or ring rows.
So very similar to what you said with the strict press. With the bench press, you can kind of overload that way. So
Right.
it's kind of the same thing with the weighted pull-up. You can overload by doing more horizontal rows because most people can horizontally row a lot more than they can do a pull-up with. Very cool. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about finding left-right imbalances in both of those for the pushing and the pulling. Actually, not for the pulling, just for the pushing. So number 3 on day 2 is single-arm seated dumbbell press. You're going to take 40% of the standing barbell strict press that you had, and you're going to find a rep max for each arm. So if I did a 100-pound press, I'm going to take a 40-pound dumbbell. I'm going to sit on a bench. I'm going to do as many reps as I can.
So this is a vertical press.
Yeah, vertical press overhead. And I'm not going to sit here and take breaks. I'm going to try and keep it constantly moving. Yep. However, if you start to slow down a little bit, that's okay. Just as long as you're not like waiting like 20 seconds to get like a few more reps. And you end up you put a score, you're like, I did 70.
And yeah. Well, what would be the case if you did so many on that side? Like, could you, if it's based off your pull up?
Well, we're not looking for
it's based off your strict press.
Yeah, it's based off your strict press. We're not looking for a number on this specifically. We're just looking for a left to right imbalance. So if one side gets 10, the other side gets 7, that's an issue, and it's a potential for injury. That's why we check for imbalances. Right? It's an asymmetry, and we want to fix that. Yeah,
again, a lot of time, we talked about this earlier with CrossFit or with weightlifting, we do a lot of bilateral stuff. So if we're only doing push presses and jerks and pull-ups and things like that, and we're never looking at the single arm, we may have an imbalance that we may not be aware of until all of a sudden injury happens. And it may not, but we just want to be aware of that. So testing the single arm seat, making sure there's no major imbalance. Because if there is, you're probably pushing at an awkward angle that you don't really realize. And so just making sure there's no imbalance there and fixing that.
Yeah, we said also, even if you don't have an imbalance, we still think people should do more unilateral, pressing and single arm stuff.
Remind me, was this for max reps?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so what if somebody is there a minimum or a maximum number of reps that you should probably try to hit?
No, again, we don't have enough information yet on that. After more people do this, we will. But again, all we're looking for is the left to right imbalance right now. Okay. As we get more data, then we'll have a better number.
Yeah, because it seems like if you were able to, like what I was trying to ask earlier, is that if you were, let's say, if it's based off your strict press and you're 40% of your strict press, but you were able to do like 30 reps, then something's off with especially, and maybe it'd be
that's all we're looking for is you don't want to see that.
Right. We tried to make these tests, and this goes for any that we're about to discuss or that we've discussed before, as comprehensive as possible. And it's not something, a lot of the things we have numbers on, but a lot of them we don't necessarily have a bunch of numbers on. So we're trying to get a more comprehensive test out there that we can apply to our training going forward.
We're doing experiments.
Yep. You're our test.
Yeah, so once you do the test, or actually when you sign up for this, you'll get all the workouts, and then you'll have a link that you can click where you go and you actually fill in all your results. And we're going to have all the data and all the information and see where everyone stacks up. It's going to be pretty cool.
You're a guinea pig.
Yep. All right, so following that, we're going to do strict pull-up AMRAP or as many unbroken reps as possible with a pronated grip. So again, here it's more of an upper body pulling endurance test. Obviously, if you couldn't do a weighted pull-up, you might be able to do an unweighted pull-up. If you can't do a pull-up at all, it's just going to be a score of 0. We'll talk again, or we actually already have kind of talked about how to get stronger at pull-ups, but mainly what we're looking for here is just another simple gymnastics test to test the endurance of your upper body pulling.
Yep, so this will be trained very, very similar to the handstand push-ups. So if you don't have a pull-up yet, you'll do negatives. You'll just continue to try to get stronger. If you do have strict pull-ups, but you don't have very many, say you have 5, you do 2 per minute for 5 minutes. That'd be 10 reps total in a kind of controlled environment, and just try to build on that. So training very similar to the handstand push-up.
Very cool. After that, weighted ring dip. So again, more vertical movement, but now we're doing downward pressing. All right, so you're going to find a 1 rep max weighted ring dip. This is a full range of motion. The standard is basically shoulder going below the elbow and then coming up all the way at the top for a lockout. So you start locked out, all the way down, shoulder below elbow, and then come back up to the top and lock out.
No bar dip.
No bar dip. This is on the rings.
Only, yeah.
Why did we choose the rings?
Why did we choose the rings?
We chose rings because the stability issue. Obviously, with the bars, all you're worrying about is the hold and the press.
Right.
As opposed to the rings, you're having to worry about keeping them in. The farther out they get, the more unstable they get, and you fall out.
Right. So yeah, again, that's just to illustrate and show this
whole new world,
the instability that you might have at the top or at the bottom. So if you can't do a ring dip, there's a bunch of different ways you can get strong, specifically if it's stability issue. So isometric holds at the top, isometric holds at the bottom. Same thing with, like think about like handstand push-ups. You can do loaded eccentrics. What are some other exercises they could throw in?
Yeah, so if strength is an issue, you could do bar dips to help get stronger with this. Talking about bench press relative to press, bar dips relative to ring dips, you can overload the nervous system as far as strength goes. So doing that, you can also do, you mentioned holds, slow tempos. Those are some good.
So
good
what do
places
they
to
want
start.
this number to be?
We want this to be, we said should be equal to your strict pull-up.
Yeah. So when you enter this, again, just like the strict pull-up, it's going to be the weight that you did plus your body weight. So it's body weight plus the external load. So again, if I weigh 200 pounds and I did a 60-pound pull-up, I would want to be able to do a 60-pound weighted ring dip as well.
Man, I'm listening to this right now, and I know like how imbalanced I am, because I definitely cannot pull what I can actually bring.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people are much stronger in the pressing.
I'm way stronger in the pressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, another exercise I think is good too is if you're trying to build that absolute strength is close grip bench pressing.
Yeah,
so because you can definitely overload that.
Bench.
You can overload that to shit, and then that will help strengthen your triceps a lot. Weighted push-ups.
Well,
The cable machine.
Yeah.
Well, that combination of like some bench press and the weighted dip, you look hella alpha in the gym doing that.
Yeah, that's what I do on my arm day, man. I do the close grip bench, and then I superset it. So yeah,
All right. So last exercise of the day, strict ring dips. We're basically again going to test endurance of the downward pressing. So you've done the weighted. Now we're going to see how many reps you can do unbroken, one attempt. Just strict ring dips. So again, full range of motion. Rep starts at the top, all the way down, shoulder below elbow, and then back up. That's 1 rep. You don't have to like do a full pause each time. You can keep it fast as long as you're just obviously locking out.
I don't know if we mentioned this on the last one, but one of the things we're looking at in the ring dip, whether it's this one or the weighted one, but is that extension in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Make sure we have that mobility. A lot of times that's a position that's missed out. We focus so much on flexion overhead, and we don't think about extension in that position. Not only translates to if you have pain something in the bench press or ring dip, but also snatching and cleaning where your elbows are outside, and then that same internal rotation position. So that's one of the things we're looking at too.
Yeah. So how do we get better at these?
At the ring dips?
Yeah.
Very similar to both other gymnastics tests we've done. So the pull-up and the handstand push-up. If you have ring dips, if you don't have them, again, we talked about how to get stronger when we're talking about the weighted one, but if you do have them, same thing. EMOMs, maybe you do 2 on the minute for 5 minutes, or 1 on the minute for 10 minutes or whatever, and just try to accumulate that volume in a progressive form.
Gotcha. Yeah, and one thing that I see, like I'll use CrossFit as an example, is like so many people struggle with finishing the lockout like in muscle ups and in ring dips, but you see it more in muscle ups, and like we just don't do enough ring support holds. A ring support hold is basically where you you lock out at the top and you just hold. If you've ever done that for like accumulate like 30
difficult.
to 60
Especially
seconds,
if you focus
it's
on the
hard.
external
If you
rotation.
externally
Yeah.
rotate and you turn out, that makes
whole
it even
different-
more
I
difficult.
can't even. I did a gymnastics phase a while back in my training, and I was doing like lots of ring support holds, and I can't explain how easy the lockout became in muscle ups. It was crazy because I was like really working on that turnout, and then when it came time to like test some muscle ups in a workout, it like wasn't even a thought that I would ever have an issue locking out.
It's really surprising. I've done some shredded workouts where there was some
Yeah,
ring dip
it's
support
humbling.
stuff, and
It's
yeah,
humbling.
it is. You get up there and you're not expecting to look like a dolphin when they come out of the water.
Yeah. So this concludes day 2 testing. By now, you should have a massive pump.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna have a serious pump after this day.
Hopefully,
Day
you
2
learn.
should be just called bro session.
It is. It's bro session day.
Yeah.
But so we talked a lot about why we chose those movements and then how to get better at them. We're gonna take a little break before we start on day 3. So stay tuned.
How strong are you, bruh? How strong are you, bruh? How strong are you, bruh? Oh, you think you're strong? Prove it! 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 But seriously, here's your chance. The Shrugged Strength Test. Go sign up for the Shrugged Strength Test on shruggedstrengthtest.com and see if you can beat my scores. Bet you can. Prove it.
All right, and we're back. Now we're going to talk about day 3 of the Shrugged Strength Test. We've talked about day 1, day 2, did a little bit of squatting on day 1, figured out where the legs are at, where you might have some imbalances and weaknesses. Day 2 was more upper body focused.
Getting your pump on.
Getting the pump, the bro sesh. Day 3, we're going to finish it out. So if you're feeling sore and tired, hang in there. You're almost done. This first one is so fun to me. I love this exercise. You're going to find an overhand grip deadlift. I didn't do it. I almost said double.
Double overhand.
Overhand grip deadlift. What that
No
means
hook grip.
is no hook grip.
Yep.
You're gonna grab it with your thumbs around your fingers like this, and you're gonna pick up as much weight as you can. The point here is that it's another simple, or it's not another. It's the first simple lower body pulling test that we've done, but it's also a grip tester. Well, what else are we looking for with this?
Yeah, something we didn't mention earlier, and when we were talking, is scapular retraction. The strength in this position where we're pulling off the ground. I know with me and my injury, I noticed this a lot with double overhand. I said it. Double overhand grip deadlift, where the heavier I get, and it's getting better, but this shoulder just won't stay back because of that retraction. So it kind of folds forward. So that's one of the things we're looking at, making sure the shoulders are balanced side to side, making sure seeing how much of a limiter grip strength is and how far off of our normal deadlift this is.
Yeah. Because most people have done a deadlift before, and we want to have that in there, but again, also we want to get more into it. So just pulling a deadlift, it tells you exactly like your absolute full strength of pulling, but it doesn't tell us a lot about grip strength and integrity, like specifically like postural integrity under heavy load.
I'm not a huge fan of just maxing out on the deadlift, especially if I'm telling a bunch of people in the world to see this, and I don't have an eye on them, just because a lot of people don't care about their spine, and they're just going to be like,
got it.
So
Crush the Shrugged Strength Test.
Man, if we
so
see
this kind of limits that.
Yeah.
It self-limits that.
I was really surprised and a little bit butthurt about my grip strength. I won't lie.
What'd you end up getting?
140 kilos. So
What's that? What's that?
But
in
that's
earth people?
300. That's 308 pounds.
That's double body weight.
It is
for you,
double body
though.
weight, but like I just after hook gripping and I've got like a 200 kilo standard like deadlift. I was like,
Right.
I had not another pound in me.
Macaro, what did you get?
What was it,
150, so 330.
330?
What did I get? I don't remember.
You got
exactly.
200
You got
kilos.
200 pounds. You got 200 pounds.
200
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah.
McGoldrick
times kg.
crushed 440 deadlift with no hook grip.
Well, he has a great, very powerful grip.
You know
so.
who's impressive
You?
is this guy named Andrew Rape. He's a friend of mine,
Oh,
and
yeah,
a teammate on
yeah.
the Rhinos.
He never uses hook
He
grip.
doesn't hook grip, and he snatches over 300 pounds. It's insane. And he
He
clean
did-
jerks 400 without hook grip. It's insane. I don't
that's the
understand it.
balls.
So I want to
Mind
see him
blown.
test this. Andrew, I'm calling you out. You got to do the Shrugged Strength Test, and you're probably going to take down my score. All right. So if grip is the limiter, what are some things we can do to get stronger?
Yeah, so we're about to test it, but we're looking at farmers carries, heavy carries,
Mm-hmm.
fat bar deadlifts, fat bar carries, fat bar hangs from the pull-up bar, more pause deadlifts in this clean grip position where you're not using the hook grip, slow controlled tempo where it's lighter weight, but you're having to fight that grip a little bit more on the way down. All those things.
I like and if like keeping that postural integrity is the issue, right? Like staying nice and upright, like throughout the pull. I like things like pause deadlifts, like segmented deadlifts.
Huge
pause
fan,
there,
yeah.
come up halfway, pause there, and then you go. It's gonna make make you safer and healthier when you lift, especially if you get tired and you're under fatigue. But it's also gonna really help your Olympic lifts.
Did you say slow eccentric lowering?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
So come up and then
come back up and then slowly go back down to the ground with control.
Yeah.
That's also going to help strengthen the posterior chain, the back end of your legs, which we did. I'm surprised we didn't. I'm curious. Well, I'm not going to go back to the front squat, but front squat is more of a test of that, especially your quad strength. So with the back squat, you still get a little bit more of the glute, the little posterior work. So the deadlift, now we're testing a little bit of the posterior chain strength.
And the front rack rear foot elbow split squat tests a lot of the glute as well. Man, I just did some of those the other day. Snatch grip. I did snatch grip. Lowering deadlifts at a slow tempo, and it feels like somebody took a bat to my upper back and hit it. I'm so sore from fighting and holding that position.
Now, is this test is with a clean grip?
Yes, this is
not a wide grip.
Right, not a wide grip. I don't want to say clean grip because everyone's clean grip's different, but it's just what feels comfortable to reach down and grab.
And not sumo.
In an overhand, not a sumo. Hands outside.
Conventional.
Conventional deadlift, hands outside legs.
It's really interesting too. A lot of what we're looking at here is postural integrity or postural strength. So the ability to stay in a good position. It's really interesting to note when you watch a bunch of people do this. As soon as the posture breaks down, the grip goes like that. It's not like you can fight through it. And whereas if you have the hook grip or the reverse grip, you can fight through that bad posture.
Definitely.
When the posture goes, the grip goes right after it. So it's really interesting how that's tied together.
Man, I wonder what I can pull, but my back is all messed up right now. I'm gonna have to try that after I get healthy again.
It's really not super taxing. We did it yesterday, and we were talking about how it's not anything like a normal deadlift because it's not that as taxing like that.
Right.
It's just interesting how that posture falls apart, and then the grip goes, which means you stop the movement, which keeps it a little bit safer.
Well, I think between this and what's coming next in the strength test, man, it's just day to day you are much more aware of if you have shitty posture, if you're at work and you're like, I'm totally collapsed. It just makes it a habit in the gym and in life, which is awesome.
Yep. Cool. So with that said, number 2 of the day, farmer carry. You're going to take 50% of the weight that you just found for the deadlift. You're going to put that in each hand. You're going to pick it up, and you're going to walk with it as far as you can. So if I deadlifted 200 pounds, I'm going to put 100 pounds in each hand. And I'm going to see how far I can walk with it. What we're looking for here, again, is some bilateral imbalance and core stability, as well as grip strength again, and more of a postural endurance test. So as you pick it up and walk with it, something about the walking, Mike will go more in detail with that, but it starts to really show if you kind of melt down. But as you said, as you start to melt down, you're probably going to notice that the grip just goes. So anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, where this was really, and this is one of the reasons we're kind of looking deeper into this. I know the strength ratio talks a lot about this as far as the carries relative to your lifts. And I was listening to Greg Cook on the Movement Fix podcast, and he was talking about that. How many more reps can you get with a normal overhand hook grip, everything all included or whatever? How many more deadlift reps can you get once form breaks down? Right. And you can get several. And his point was relating to the carry. Once you lose postural integrity, how far can you go? Yeah. Nothing. It just goes. So it's really testing that out.
Well, yeah. When we were doing some farmers carries, I think yesterday, heavy for 30 meters, and I think I had 175 on each, and you did the same thing. But when me doing it, I was struggling to stay in have a good posture. But when I noticed you doing the carries, even though you carried it for I think a little less, but you were so stable, and you almost just looked like a board while you were walking, and I was just it looked like I was about to just keel over. And I know that postural strength is a big issue for me because I feel it, especially when I clean and snatch, and that's a huge carryover to weightlifting, just not being able to have a strong torso.
So some ways to improve that. You can start with doing more carries, again, more farmer carries with a lighter load for longer distances, and you can do very heavy loads for shorter distances. Any type of carry you can do unilateral. One side at a time. You can do unilateral. You can do both. What What else could they do?
Yoke
Something
walks.
outside of farmer carries.
Yeah,
yoke walks.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you feel more unstable in the core and stuff, I mean, yoke walks could be a factor. So front rack yoke walks, back rack yoke walks, carries. I've seen people doing carries while doing sled pulls. I haven't done any of that, but
Yeah.
Yeah, you can also
Sounds
do
terrible.
single arm, any kind of single arm. Just make sure you're balanced in that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Specifically, the grip specifically, I like doing things like cannonball carries. If you haven't seen a cannonball before, it's like a little steel ball that you can hook weight to, and I do walks with those, and it's just kind of a grip
now
test.
the secret comes out.
Pinch block carries, pinch plate carries. Pinch plate carries are brutal. You don't need any equipment for that.
Yeah,
just go
just grab
grab
a plate.
15-pound plate, obviously, but like 15 or 25-pound plate, and just walk with that. You're not grabbing the lip of it or anything, because that kind of defeats the purpose. You're
right.
pinching it.
Oh,
man, it's
competition
brutal.
plate.
Yeah.
anything like fat bar, so axles,
Yep.
or you can go buy yourself some fat grips.
Yep.
Deadlifts with the fat grips. That will train your grip hard.
Cool. Coming up next, the best. Everyone's been waiting for this one. The bench press 1 rep max.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what is it?
The mother of all strength lifts. All right, so
all the bases
Should be able to
covered.
get 3 times body weight, right?
yeah, triple body weights. No, just kidding. So again, we're doing this just to test our upper body absolute pressing strength. Mainly because this is generally where most people can do the most weight. So we want to see how strong you really are with that.
Before we jump into this, what's the standard on the bench press setup? Because are we going to set up like power lifter style where you just totally just do some back curl up in there, or are we going to actually just really test and be flat on the bench?
So that's a good question, and I think we explained it earlier before the break, but this is kind of specific to like what it is your goals are, right? So like we talked about how the weighted pull-up needs to be a little bit higher for CrossFitters because they're generally doing like much higher demand of upper body pulling. With the bench press, on how standard you would test it, if you're a power lifter, do it how you normally do it. I wouldn't change anything specifically as long as you do it the same way the first time that when you come back and do it later.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I'm not a big fan of the big arch. I just think it puts way too much pressure on your back that's not needed unless you are a power lifter. And even then, I don't know. I just have a hard time with it. And if you're a CrossFitter, there's no reason to do that. Like you need to test pressing strength. You're not testing how you can game the system. But yeah, I think it's you do what you're training it for.
What's a number that they're looking for?
I think we said
1 1/4.
1 1/4 body weight for guys.
For general,
and body weight for girls. I think is what we said.
Yep, that's pretty good. Just to give you an idea, it doesn't mean it can't go up, but you want to at least get up to that number. So 1.25% for men, and then body weight for women.
Right.
Cool. How can we get better at the bench press?
Drink more milk. Yeah. Go mad.
Go mad. What's go mad?
Gallon of milk a day.
Gallon of milk a day.
Gallon of whole
for real
milk a
though, just do more strength work. Like there's a ton of exercises to improve your bench press. The cool thing about the bench press is that it's not body weight limiting. Everyone can do a bench press.
Yeah. Yeah. There's literally a library of bench press exercises because powerlifters, that's one of the 3 main lifts that they do. So a lot of powerlifting training programs, they do a lot of variation to work the different sticking points of the bench press. So things like board presses,
lockouts.
Lockouts. They can even do what's where you load it, where you hang bands,
reverse banded,
and reverse bands, all those types of things, bands, chains, all that.
Yeah.
And we didn't add in a unilateral test for this because you obviously would see some of that with the vertical pressing, and not that it's going to be the same with horizontal. It could be a little different, but you know how to test it now. So if you're someone who does the bench press and you notice you're like a broken jack on a car or something, it's like something, then you know like how you could go back and retest that and improve it, and that would just be with one arm or single arm dumbbell exercises, etc.
And please get somebody to spot you if you're doing.
Put the clips on and get someone to spot you. You're not above that.
Get somebody to spot you. We don't want to see videos
We've
of
all done
epic
it.
fails and.
Oh man, that one about the dude.
I've gotten
the
stuck
one,
under a bar.
Yeah, the one guy. He had a safety rack set up, but he like brought it out and
He missed the safety rack
and landed on his throat, and he was like,
Can people do this with a Smith machine?
No. You're not on the moon, so don't train like you're on the moon.
We're not in space.
Yeah, no Smith machine. This is real stuff. Just kidding. I'm not knocking on the Smith machine. Every piece of equipment has its purpose, but not for this one.
Right.
All right. So what's after that?
Hanging clothes.
Yeah, we're gonna go kind of the opposite now. We're gonna go exercise number 4 of the day is the inverted strict bar row.
This one you could do on a Smith machine.
You could use the Smith machine for this. It's probably easier to set up that way. However, the Smith machine bars are a little bit fatter sometimes, aren't they?
Yeah, usually like 31 mils.
Yeah, so
28.
inverted strict bar row, what we're looking for here is you're going to set up a bar that's equal to a box, the height of it, so that when you're hanging from the bar, you're almost inverted. You're almost like at a downward angle. So your feet are on the box, your hands are on the bar, and your feet and the bar are the same level. What we're looking for here is obviously arms locked out. Pull your chest to the bar. You can do as many reps as you can.
Massive pump.
Finally, that they can see this in the video.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of these movements, and you're like, I don't know how to set all this up. We've got we did all the demo videos for you, and we walked through each one step by step and explained how to set up. It's super easy. So check that out if you're confused. Anyways, moving on to
it's when you sign up for the Shrugged strength test.
when you want the test and you sign up for it, you'll get all the videos when you're ready. And you're ready now. We're looking for as many unbroken reps that we can get. You tested this. How many did you get?
Like 67.
Holy shit.
No.
I was going to say.
21.
21, yeah, I think so. What we're looking to avoid is like you don't want to cap. This is strict, okay? So like you could probably get to the bottom and like do this, but the point is just to get like a true indication of where that strength is.
Yeah, and
so
keep it
no
steady.
breaking of the body.
Midline straight.
Right.
And keep it pretty steady pace. It does go pretty quickly because it's that last. We want the bar to make contact every time. So it does kind of when it goes, it goes. Mm-hmm. But you can rest a little bit in the bottom where you're just hanging and then get 1 or 2 more. But
squeeze
keep
your
it pretty.
butt.
And I'm okay with that because when we tested this with some people, we thought that would be an issue that they would just hang out, but it goes pretty quick.
Your
grip starts to get tired too.
Yeah, and it's not like the pull is what necessarily goes. I mean, the pull is what goes, but it's really that last inch or two.
Yeah, that last little bit of range of motion.
You get there. So what are we looking for when we test this?
Again, looking for this is supposed to be a little bit more of an endurance test, pulling endurance test. For a lot of people, it will be a strength test. To get just a few is going to be tough, and also looking for side to side imbalance. It is a bilateral movement, but you can kind of tell if one kind of gives before the other, and then that last little bit of retraction in the shoulder blades is really what we're looking for. So if you can't do strict chest to bar, or if you have a real tough time with chest to bar, this may kind of highlight that too. If
you're someone who has some mobility issues, again, going with that shoulder extension, you might notice how hard it is to actually squeeze and finish that. I'm someone who has trouble with that. Doing like strict chest to bar holds or strict chest to bar pull-ups, they're much more difficult for me than they should be relative to how strong my regular pull-ups are. So we're looking for adequate rhomboid and lat strength, the ability to touch your chest to the bar.
And it's just a good horizontal test that we could, the pin lay row is good training. It's hard to test necessarily because of standards, and so it was just kind of a good horizontal pulling test that we could come up with standards that are easy to follow and easy to measure. Right,
and I do a lot with a lot of my clients. We do a chest-supported barbell row, but there's just so many different ways to set that up. We thought that this was the simplest and easiest to give you good indication of where you're at with that. So how can we get stronger at that position and in that pulling position?
Yeah, so we talked about a lot of it earlier with the dumbbell rows, pin lay rows, more of these exact rows. If you can't get one at all, lower your feet down so your hands are a little bit higher so you're not so much at a downward angle. It's going to make it a little bit easier. Even ring rows are a little bit different where you can kind of pull. Your hands aren't in a fixed position, so it makes it where you can pull a little bit better. So just any kind of different horizontal pulling.
Yeah, perfect. Cool.
Motion.
The last exercise of the Shrugged strength test.
Dun, dun, dun.
Using the exact same setup that you've got with your feet on the box and the hands on the bar, you're going to flip around and you're going to do as many push-ups as you can. All right, so what we're looking for here is we've done our absolute strength test. You're going to do 1 attempt max unbroken push-ups with your feet on the box and your hands on the bar.
Want that bar making contact with sternum.
Yeah, bar should hit sternum.
The xiphoid process.
Again, this is an upper body horizontal endurance test. For some, it might be just pure strength, but for the majority, we're testing for core stability. If you're someone who notices that when you go, you have a real big problem, and that's why we put our hands on the bar and on the feet. It's because you can't cheat this. Yeah. So you have nothing to rest.
Right.
So it's really challenging. You'll notice that you'll be like, man, I'm killing. Oh gosh, where'd it go?
Yeah.
Just goes away. How many did you get?
35.
So you did 21 and 35, and you got
27 and 41.
27 and 41. So we don't have an exact ratio yet, but I think it was around most of the people that we've tested with, it was like 65 to 70% is a good balance of the pull to the press.
Yep.
And again,
60% of yours.
The biggest thing here is just to show how much stronger one is than the other. Meaning that if you do 2 on the row and 30 on the press, it's pretty obvious that your pull needs to get a lot stronger. All right, so again, 60 to 70%, just intended to show the relationship between the two. As we do more of this, and more people do it, we'll have a more narrowed down number.
How much rest did you guys take in between?
About 2 minutes.
About 2 minutes?
Yeah, a couple minutes. Well, yeah, a couple minutes between each one. Make sure that you are at full recovery. There's no rush on these. You want, we're looking for, the best result here possible. Cool. Again, how do we get stronger at these? If core is the limiter, let's start with that.
Yeah, core is the limiter. Planks, static plank holds, front landing rest on rings, front landing rest on the ground, weighted planks, even back to yoke carries, things like that.
Yeah.
All those core stability exercises.
What about pressing strength? Bench press. That's the limiter.
Bench press. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Cool.
That's a joke. Bench press. Again, lowering your feet relative to your hands. So we have the standard set up to where the bar is even with your feet. So if you can't do one, lower your feet down to where you're more at an angle, and that's going to set you up in a better lever position where you can actually do them.
Yeah.
And so doing those.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, changing the angle just like you did with the row.
Yep.
If it's too difficult, you brought your feet down. This one you would bring the hands up higher.
Or bring the feet down.
Yep.
Same thing.
Tomato. So at the end of this test, you've gotten all the results now. You fill them out, and then we send you a written out feedback form that's going to basically summarize a lot of things. Actually, it's going to be more in-depth explanation of all the things that we've explained today. It's going to give you examples and how to get better at those things. A lot of people have come to us and said, man, I really want to get stronger at these things. I have a good idea now where my balance is, but what's the biggest thing they don't want to lose when they want to get stronger? People still want to be able to breathe, right? We've had so many people ask us that, can we actually get stronger at these things and still be able to breathe and do our conditioning?
Is it possible?
My answer is yes.
Yes.
The CrossFitters, high-level CrossFitters, you're
it.
living proof. You guys do it. So.
Yes, you see that. You see athletes getting stronger all the time and still doing conditioning. Now, they both work. You can definitely get a lot stronger and not do any conditioning, but if you don't want to lose all your fitness, it's definitely possible. Anything you want to add on why and how that might be possible?
Yeah, I think before we even touch on the conditioning thing, again with these tests that we try to come up with, we try to make it really comprehensive. So a lot of times, people just focus on the squat or they just focus on the snatch and clean and jerk and lower body stuff. But we tried to bring in a lot of gymnastics type testing in there. That's simple, and applicable.
New word.
that everybody can do. So it's not like max rep muscle ups and max rep ring handstand push-ups or something. It's stuff that everybody can do that's going to translate to CrossFit. So blending that together with your conditioning in a specific way, you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, so we've started building a program that's going to kind of involve that. It's going to get you a lot stronger, and it's not going to necessarily crush your conditioning. Still a lot to do on it, but we would love to know if it's something that you guys would be interested in. So let us know if you're someone who is interested in that. If you want to get a lot stronger and be very balanced and have improvements in your lifts and still be able to do, tough metcons and basically feel functional still, let us know if you want to do that, and we'll keep adding to it.
Do you want to be better at everything, or do you not?
The choice is yours.
Well, you can get a whole lot stronger and just focus on strength. That's arguably what I did for 4 years, and then I recently just stepped into this little world back again, and
it's a hard road back.
It's hard. It's very difficult. Being strong helps, but if you're trying to do well at CrossFit, you cannot ignore the fact that you have to have breath.
Yeah.
I don't care
how
strong.
Have oxygen.
Yeah, oxygen, 95-pound thruster without oxygen sucks.
Yeah, I think strength focus is so awesome, and I love strength programs, but you don't have to always give up the fitness. You don't have to just stop doing it.
Yeah.
So we ran through day 1, 2, and 3 of the Shrugged strength tests. Go give it a shot. Sign up online.
Put your feedback in.
Yeah, you'll get the workouts. You'll have a place to put in all the results. We're excited to see them.
Yeah, I want to do some statistical analysis, some ANOVA.
We've already got a good chunk.
Get some. Yeah. Do some. I have to pull out my old
biomedical.
This is biomedical statistics we're collecting here.
I can't wait to see.
We get Shireen.
Numbers.
We can get Shireen too. Shireen's a big numbers geek, and we can just do a lot.
I sent her the form the other day, and she was so excited. Shireen works for us, and she's kind of the behind the scenes on all the number crunching.
She's also a fellow engineer.
And she's one of my athletes.
Yeah.
Super strong woman.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think that wraps it up.
Yep. So go to barbellshrugged.com, sign up for the strength test. We'll send you demos on all the videos on how to do it, how to set it up. It's really fun. It takes just a couple of days, 3 days.
Takes a
triple of days. Find out where you're lacking. Find out how strong you might be, and it gives you a good insight on what you need to work on.
Massive pump.
Cool.
It'd be fun.
And day 2 pump. Later, guys.